Hey, I am psyched to get on and talk a little bit today about help a reporter out, HARO, however you want to pronounce it. It is all about connecting you and your business with reporters, writers, producers who are dying to feature you in your business. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? It has been around for quite some time. Gosh, I think I've probably been using it. It could be the better part of a decade at this point. I should look back and see when Help a Reporter Out was actually founded, but I feel like I've been using it since before I became a journalist. So I've used it both to pitch myself to be an expert source, to be quoted in stories or even featured in a story, but I've also used it as a journalist to look for sources. So I really understand what it looks like on both sides because I have accounts registered both as someone who pitches to reporters and journalists and writers and producers, but also as a journalist myself who looks for my expert sources there. So I'm going to give you some of my best tips about how to stand out, because if you've tried HARO already, you know that only a tiny percent of the pitches are accepted, and it can feel like a total black hole for your time because you can feel like it takes a lot of time to look through the requests and then to actually pitch, and then maybe you don't get it and it all feels like a giant waste. But I am here to tell you that it is not a giant waste, okay? If you have jumped on here live, tell me, have you ever used Help a Reporter Out before? Or do you not know what it is? And we will start from there. So a very quick overview is that as someone who wants to be quoted or featured in the media, you would go through the essentially digest, for lack of a better word, that comes out 3 times a day. It comes out morning, afternoon, and evening, and it's divided up by subject. So, business, sports, lifestyle. I forget what the exact categories are, but it is divided out by category. And then it will have these links for each request that was put in by a journalist or a writer or a producer or a host or whatever it is. And they will tell you what they're looking for. They'll say, I'm writing a piece for Glamour on women who have left their 9 to 5 to pursue their side hustle. And they'll tell you that they're looking for stories about that, and they want you to send 2 to 3 sentences, or they want you to send your whole story, or you have to meet certain requirements, like they're only looking for people who were lawyers or whatever it is. Sometimes they're very specific about what they're looking for, and sometimes it's a little more general than that. And I see quite a few of you have joined now. Let me know, have you ever used Help a Reporter Out before? So you get these daily digests 3 times a day, and I urge you, if you've got a team, you've got a virtual assistant, or you've got someone else on your team you can outsource this to, have them get the emails and look through them every day and just cut and paste for you the ones that make sense for you and send you those so that you can focus on just those, because it can feel overwhelming to go through these 3 times a day. And here's why you have to go through them 3 times a day. Hi, Megan. Megan knows because Megan is a publicist on my team, and she is the person on our team who goes through these every day. And the reason it's important to go through them when they come in 3 times a day and not just go through them once at the end of the day, because that saves you time. But here's how it works. Okay, as a journalist, when I've put things in there, it asks me for a deadline. So let's say my deadline with my editor is in 3 days. So I might put my deadline in 2 days to get responses, because then I've got to cull the responses and actually write my piece. Here's how it actually works. I have gotten up to 200 responses before to something I've put on HARO. Sometimes I get 8, and sometimes it's 200. It really varies. So don't be scared off by the 200 and think, well, there's no way I'm going to get picked out of 200 people. It's not always like that, but I want you to understand it can be a big volume. And so as a journalist, what happens is I'm reading them as they come in, or I'm at least reading them in the order they came in, and I am going to take the first few that are a good fit. I'm not going to wait till the deadline and then look through them all. I'm going to look at them because I'm on a deadline. I've got to hurry and write this piece so I can move on to writing my next piece. So I'm going to take the first few that are a good fit. And that's why it's important that you or someone on your team is looking at these as they come in 3 times a day instead of waiting and looking once a day or once every couple of days. Nicole asks, so you have to subscribe to HARO to get the list? Yes, you do need to subscribe to it, and it'll even ask you some questions. You can limit how many times a day you get it. You can limit the categories that you receive, but I urge you not to limit the number of times a day you get it, because I'm telling you, having a timely response is one of the most important hacks I can give you to using Help a Reporter Out successfully, okay? So that's sort of tip number 1 is you got to be fast, okay? Because even if the deadline isn't for 2 days, I'm telling you, the journalists are going to take the first few responses that are good. So my second tip is personalize your subject line. Depending on whether you decide to reply straight from your email or if you log into the actual Help a Reporter Out website and decide to respond there, it can auto-populate your subject line, and it might say something like, I think it says like HARO query, and then it'll have the subject line that the reporter gave. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Shauna. Yeah, Shauna said, who is able to respond the fastest? I just talked about this yesterday. Yes, it is all about responding fast. Then when you respond, you want a subject line that grabs their attention. So when I send out, as a journalist, when I send one out and it's popular, I might get like 10 responses really fast from PR people in my inbox, and I will be more likely to open the ones that like grab my attention. So for example, I have a client who's a doctor who developed her own skincare line. Okay, a lot of people have developed skincare lines. That's not really unique in itself. Her reason for developing the skin line, however, is she is a doctor who had thyroid cancer. Her thyroid cancer diagnosis caused her to look more closely at the ingredients in her skincare products. She was shocked by what she found in the existing products on the market, and so she decided then to create her own. I get it, that doesn't all fit in a subject line, but the subject line might be something like, doctor with thyroid cancer weighs in on harmful ingredients. Something like that. If let's say what the reporter said they were looking for was somebody who could talk about skincare ingredients and like what we don't know is hiding. If my subject line is doctor with thyroid cancer weighs in on harmful ingredients, there's probably not a lot of other respondents who have experience kind of on 2 sides of the coin, personal experience from having had thyroid cancer and being concerned with ingredients, and she's a doctor, so like she really gets what these ingredients are and what they can do to your skin. So you want to think about a subject line you can use that essentially positions you as an expert. And I know some of you probably aren't on board yet with calling yourself an expert, and if you're not, drop me a comment about that, and I'm going to get you a free training I have on how to position yourself as an expert and how to really not just position yourself, but how to feel it, how to feel like the expert, the go-to expert, and how to position yourself that way. Shauna knows, because Shauna is in my group program where we have an entire module that's on positioning yourself as an expert. So let Shauna tell you, Shauna is an expert. I know it, and I know she feels like one now. And I've seen, for example, her confidence level and her social media posts are so different now than they were when she joined my program, I think like a year ago now, Shauna. She said, I need help with my expert statement. Yeah, but you're on the right track. You know what it is. You've been putting yourself out there and landing stuff. So it's important that you not only position yourself as that expert in the pitch that you're going to send to this reporter or writer, editor, whoever it is who's put this request on HARO, but that it's in your subject line too, so that they can't wait to open yours because they're like, boom, I know this is what I was looking for my piece, okay? So let's go back over quickly the 2 tips we've had so far. It's respond fast. So important to be one of the first people who responds, because journalists are likely going to take the first few good responses that they get. Sorry guys, I have a house phone because my cell phone does not get service in my house. And I usually remember to turn it off, I know, but I'm waiting on an AC repair guy, and of course that's him calling. But I'm going to finish training you and then I'm going to call him back. How about that? So make sure you're responding fast because they're going to take the first few good responses. Make sure your subject line stands out, okay? Even when I started responding, my subject line used to say something like, response to HARO request. I mean, I did that in the beginning. I'm laughing because I know better now, but that's what I did in the beginning. So instead, Shauna says I can take the call. You guys don't want to listen to me talk to the AC repair guy. Come on. And so you're going to respond fast. You're going to have a subject line that makes them want to open it. They're going to know from the subject line that you are the exact kind of person they were looking for this piece. And then inside the email where you're pitching yourself, okay? And if you don't know what a pitch looks like, again, back to the group program, there's an entire module in the group program about how to write a pitch for HARO and how to write a pitch for podcast interviews and guest blogs and different types of publicity. Nicole says, I need that program. We would love to have you, Nicole. Ask Shauna. Shauna's in the program. She said, oh, well, she responded already. She said, totally worth it. Happy to send you information if you want it, Nicole. But the key in the pitch is to position yourself as that expert, but also to give them something they can use, okay? Here's what I think makes the difference between getting accepted and not getting accepted is people respond to the pitch and say, you know, I'm an expert on skincare because of X, Y, and Z, would love to talk to you for your piece. Okay, that's not a bad pitch. I certainly wrote ones like that in the beginning, but here's what I started doing for clients that made a huge, huge difference and really started landing more stuff for my clients, okay? It is giving the reporter quotes that they can cut and paste, okay? Reporters are in a hurry. They're generally not interested in getting on the phone with you and interviewing you. They're probably going to email you questions and have you email back answers. Incredibly rare that our clients end up on the phone with a reporter as a response to one of these requests. It usually is an email interview. But here's how to make it even easier for them is if they gave enough detail in their request, which sometimes they don't, okay? Sometimes their requests are super vague and there's nothing you can do about that. But let's say in their request they said, I'm writing a piece about the most harmful ingredients found in skincare products. Okay, I would get with this is an actual response we did, in fact. I got with my client and I said, give me a list of the most harmful ingredients that are commonly found in skincare products. She gave me a list of 10 and wrote like a few sentences about each one. I actually saved that because we were able to use it for tons of requests in the future. That was a really common topic that came up over and over on HARO. So after I got it from her the first time, I was able to kind of copy and paste it in the future. But what we did, and Shauna said, that's how I got my last feature, bullet points. Yes. So you go ahead if you have enough detail about what they want, and I wrote out quotes from the client about I gave the list of the 10 ingredients and then like a sentence or two on each one about why they're harmful or why it's kind of sneaky, why you should watch out for it. And I told the writer, happy to schedule an interview for you with my client, or feel free to quote anything in this email. And then I said, my client would like to be titled Dr. Kalpana Di Pasquale, founder of Calvera Skincare, and linked Calvera Skincare so my client would get the link. If you give them everything they need up front, if you give them quotes, they can just copy and paste. You've got exactly how you want your title up here. You are making their job so incredibly easy because they're not going to have to email you back questions and wait for you to respond. They're not going to have to schedule a phone call with you, which most of them won't do anyway. They can just cut and paste what you've already sent them, and they're already well on their way to their piece being done and writing their next piece, because most of these writers are getting paid either per post or based on the number of views that they get. They have got to like push out a lot of content. So the easier you can make their job, the more likely they are to use you as the expert in their piece. Does that make sense? Okay, Shauna says that's exactly how she got her last feature, because that, and I hope this is why, but that's how I teach it in the HARO module that I have in my program, because I noticed as a journalist that when people pitched me like that, I was far more likely to use them as a source because I'm in a hurry and I'd love to just copy and paste it and not have to talk to you or send you questions. I'm in a hurry. I don't know you. You gave me what I needed. I'm going to use it. So when I saw that as a journalist, that was the way my brain functioned, and that I took the first few good responses, especially if they had stuff I could just cut and paste and use, I thought, okay, this is the way I should be pitching as a publicist. I should be making it easy on the journalist. So, I think that that has helped me be a better publicist because I am a journalist and have worked for big outlets like Forbes and ESPN. And so I know what it looks like to be on the other side of it. So I'm gonna go quickly over the 3 tips one more time before I call the AC guy back. Okay, so number 1 is respond quickly. They're gonna take the first few responses that are good. I don't care what they say the deadline is. They're gonna take the first few good ones, okay? Number 2, and Tiffany says, I get the emails and I haven't submitted yet because they want the articles back so fast. It's true, it moves really quickly. If you can find someone on your team to outsource that to, like your VA, that will help you a lot, okay? Tip number 2 is make your subject line something that makes them want to open the email. Don't say something like response to HARO request, okay? Tell them a little bit about who you are or what you're bringing to the table, or a little bit about what your answer is. Give them something juicy in that subject line to make them open it, okay? And then number 3 is make it easy for them by putting quotes directly in the email and saying, feel free to use the following in your piece, and bullet point out some quotes for them, and then tell them how you want to be titled in the piece. So Christy Dosh, founder and publicist, Guide My Brand, and link Guide My Brand so that I get a link in there. Okay? Any questions I can answer for anybody? I can tell I sit facing windows, and so I never have to like turn a light on for my lives, but a huge thunderstorm just rolled in and it got like pitch black in here just while I've been on this live with you guys. And so I know now it's making my video quality not so great, and I'm sort of stalling out a little bit because it got so dark in here. But it was sunny when I got on. I don't know what happened. Tiffany said, so it's okay to use the email on HARO or better to find a direct email. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but I think you're asking, can you try to find the email address for the reporter? When you try to reply to them, it's going to reply to an anonymous HARO email address. You're not going to get their email. I wouldn't email them and say, can I have your email address? You know, they want you to respond to them right then. But if you can't respond to this request, I would maybe make note of their name and their publication and then try to find their email address. And then you could reach out to them and say, you know, I wasn't able to help you out with your recent request, but if you're ever working on anything in the future that covers XYZ, you know, I would be happy to comment on it. We've done that sometimes. Anything else I can answer for anybody? I'm sorry, I'm watching out my windows because this storm is getting like worse and worse. It is like white out. It's dark, but it's like a white out. I can barely see across the street. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up and call this AC guy back and try not to get hit by lightning from the storm. If you've got more questions, leave them here and I will certainly come back and answer them, or you can shoot me a private message, an email, send a carrier pigeon, get me the message however you want. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the day. Thank you for showing up and for all your great questions, and I will chat with you guys later.